I'm starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Relocation or mitigation. Which should we prioritize to save lives? Which will minimize the cost and injury? Hi everybody, my name is Keonna rosemarie manopo. Today, I'll be speaking as the first speaker of the proposition team with the motion that this House believes in states that should prioritize disaster mitigation over relocation. In my speech, I'm going to relate 3 main points of my argument. The first one being that relocation is a complicated system. The second being the increased costs and expenses required for relocation. The third is that by prioritizing mitigation, we minimize the injuries and property damage. Now, on to my first point of argument. Let's define relocation. What is disaster relocation? You see, relocation is the process of moving thousands of people in a certain region or community away from hazardous environments. What do I mean by hazardous environments? This could mean floods, tsunamis, typhoons, earthquakes, tornadoes, forest fires, and etc. You see, relocation can be helpful, but it's complicated when no one knows what to do and may pose harm towards people's lives. What do I mean by posing harm? Wouldn't relocation help those in need and save their lives? Well, that might be true, but think of it this way. For example, if someone doesn't know how to swim in the case of floods, most likely they're gonna drown before help can even arrive. You see, relocation is something that requires immediate attention and a strong planning. The immediate attention of all available units, meaning not all people can get the same attention. Relocation is purely luck, and all you can do is really pray that you can just be saved by someone, anybody. With that in mind, mitigation is needed and crucial to help save people's lives when there's no one there to help them. Now, on to my second point of the argument, the increased costs and expenses. Relocation requires a really high budget, everybody, because it needs to cover multiple of things, a lot of things in fact. For example, housing, transportation from one region to another, long-term infrastructure, and also site development to revitalize regions and communities that are affected and destroyed by these natural disasters. Not to mention, people critically injured require funds to heal and recover. Now, with disaster mitigation, we decrease the risk of it happening. Now, on to my third point of the argument. By prioritizing disaster mitigation, we minimize injury and property damage. We no longer need a really high budget to cover, like I've said before, transportation, long-term infrastructure, and site development. Because why? We already have the infrastructure we need before it's destroyed by these natural disasters. We can strengthen existing structures to survive earthquakes or high winds. Perhaps make them high enough to avoid things such as tsunamis. We can also construct flood barriers to avoid the flood coming. And another way, by minimizing the injury and also by helping people in need, is having public educations. For example, running drills on what we should do and what we should avoid in these multiple natural disasters, since there's a lot and it varies. We can also by teaching community disaster responses. So those are my 3 points of argument. In conclusion, mitigation can save lives and help everybody while also minimizing the cost and the property damage caused by these natural disasters. Thank you for listening to my speech. Bye!